Hi students. We covered the use of Anchor in class last week, but we had a lot of people that were absent, and I'm assuming people that were present might need a refresher, so I decided to go ahead and make a little video walking you through the steps. The link is on Google Classroom, but if you have not already done so, you do need to go to the Anchor app or Anchor website and log in. You have to create a new login using your CPS email. Um, and that is going to bring you here to this site. Um, when you are ready to start, you're going to click New Episode, and you can record right through the app. Okay, so um, using your podcast planning template, I'm going to move over to that in just a second, but you can record in separate segments. So the first segment of your podcast is your opening. So you would click Start Recording Now. Welcome to my podcast. This is just a test, so I'm going to stop there. I would click stop recording, and you can see it uploads the recording I just made right here. And then I want to rename it, so I'm going to click right on that little pencil tool, and I can just put podcast opening test. And if I click play, I can hear the recording I did. If I don't like it, I can re-record by clicking on record again. If I like what I've got, then I'm going to add some background music. You can listen to the different options and pick one that you like. Once you figure out the one that you like, um, click the check mark. You can preview it with your audio. And if you like what you hear, you're going to click apply. Once your recording has, hold on, this little music symbol in the corner, then you know that music is added. And if you like what you have, you can always re-listen to it. Then you're going to click this plus sign, which will add it to your podcast. So over here is the first section of your podcast. Okay. If you need to do any editing directly to that audio, you're gonna have to click Edit Audio, and you can edit out parts of your podcast by splitting it. So maybe at the beginning I made a mistake, then I can create that split, and if I click here, I can delete out that section of the podcast, and then I can save it. So save as one new segment. Okay. So that's section one. When I'm ready with my first body section of my podcast, you have to have at least one topic section, and ideally you would have two. Then you are going to go ahead and add that. So I have one down here that I did as a sample last week, topic one, and I've already added music to it. So I can put a plus sign here. And so I have my opening, I have my topic one, and I'm also going to need a closing to my podcast. So let me just go ahead and record something quickly. Thank you for joining me today for our podcast. We covered how to make a podcast, and we're excited to have you back next time when we will learn what it means to do service learning in person. Okay, so that was just a sample again. Once it finishes loading, I'm going to rename it podcast closing. Okay. And I might want some exit music, so I'm going to add some background music. Make sure it goes with your opening music. And if I like what I hear, I'm going to add it to my podcast. The other thing you're able to do is add transitions. So you would listen to the transitions. If you like it, you can add it to your episode. And once it's over here, then you can rearrange it. So maybe I want this transition sound between my topic one and my closing, or however you want to do it. And if I like what I have, or I can preview it right here, you need to have at least 3. Actually, more like you have to. Your podcast needs to be between 5 and 10 minutes. Um, then you can click save episode. We might want to start by saving it as a draft. Unless you know you're ready to go, then you can go to publish. And what you're going to do is name your podcast. So podcast test 1. Describe what my podcast is about. Obviously, you would put more than I'm putting right now. And you can customize it and then click save as draft. Once you have that saved, if you click episodes up here, you can see all the podcasts that you've created. So these are all the different test podcasts I've made. If you click on them, it'll take you back here. And if you scroll down, you can edit the audio, you can take stuff out, and you can listen to the whole thing and see what you've got. If you like what you've got, then you might be ready to publish. So you click that edit tool and click publish now. Verify your email. And let's see, did it publish? Okay. And the last thing you need to do, get that podcast published. Before you can publish a podcast, it's going to make you confirm your email address. So just check your email inbox for something from Anchor. And I'm just going to click here to confirm. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my episodes. And I'm going to go to episode tests and see if I can go ahead and publish this time. So view episode details and click this pen tool and I'm going to click publish. Okay, so now I have a place for podcast name. So it's episode test 1, how to make a podcast. So find what is relevant to your podcast. It's in English. Continue. Okay, and now that I'm published, now this is where I can grab my link so I can submit it for my assignment. So I'm going to click here for copy link, and then I'm going to go over to Google Classroom, and I'm going to go to classwork, and Miss Chow, she hasn't done it yet, is going to add a link for uploading your podcast. That's where you submit your final assignment, and then you are done. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Before I close off, I want to take you back to the podcast planning template. This was supposed to be turned in last Sunday. I realized when I looked, one, completion was low, but the ones that were completed clearly needed more support. So I made a new version of this assignment, and if you click podcast planning template, more support, you have another document. What this includes is a section for you to include at least one source that you've researched. So you must cite at least a website or a survey or a book, or someone was going to talk about something on TikTok, so that could be your resource. You need to put the citation here and summarize how this is going to fit into your podcast and what it was about. And then the next 3 sections here, I have created some templates for what you would type in for your script section. So when I say you need a script, I mean you need to write out exactly the words that you would say. If you're interviewing someone, obviously you don't know what they're going to say, but you need to have the questions developed. Okay, so if you're doing an interview for that topic section, then you could copy this and paste it into that script area. If you're going to talk about some research that you did or something that you found out or some personal stories to go with it, you could copy some of these sentence frames. If you're going to do a little small group discussion with some peers, you want to plan those guiding questions and figure out which peers you're going to have in that group, and you would copy this. And then here's where you map out your podcast. So what is the driving question? You're going to type out exactly what your opening is, and that is your first segment that you record. Some of you did this in class last week. And then section 1, about 3 minutes. What is the goal of this section? And here's the script. This is where you copy from above, depending on what you're going to cover. So if you're doing a small group discussion, you're narrating something that you learned, or you're interviewing, that is what you're going to put down here in the script section. Okay, and then having a second section is optional. You have to have in your podcast an opening, at least one main body section, and a closing. If you have time to do a second section, that's great. You could choose a different thing. Maybe you do an interview and a topic review, and then you need to map out your closing. So this is a little bit more structured with some sentence frames to help you. After you have that, you need to record each section and get your podcast submitted to me. If you have any questions, please let me know.